Hello and a warm welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview. And what a weekend it was last weekend on this channel. Jack, all I can do is applause. A sensational performance from yourself. Migration in the Lincoln at a big price. And for Dream as well. One of your Cliff horses came and did the business for you. What a weekend.
Yeah, it was good actually. I think you kind of have to keep yourself grounded. You got a lot of bad weekends, so a couple of 18-1 winners makes up for it. But no, it was a good start to the flat season. Hopefully we'll find a couple more today.
Yeah, hopefully so. And big congratulations. Just give a few mentions in the comments. John Jenkins was in agreement with Jack with Migration, saying it would love heavy ground, and got it spot on. And if you do want to get shout outs on this channel, get your best bets in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. If over 50% of you aren't subscribed, it doesn't take long. Just click that subscribe button. It does help us, and we do appreciate all the support. So this weekend coming, we've got plenty of top quality action. We've got all weather action, we've got flat action, and we've also got some sensational jumps action from Fairyhouse with the Irish Grand National topping things off on Monday. So plenty to get through on Easter weekend. But what Jack and I have decided to do is give you our top 5 bets for the Easter weekend. Something to enjoy. There's plenty of racing, and look, it's a race weekend where you don't want to be getting stuck in to absolutely everything. These are going to be in no sort of order of best to worst or worst to best. These are just going to be probably in time order from the days. So Jack, I'll kick things off with you. I'm sure you're going to be starting off with Good Friday.
I am, yeah. I don't usually find winners at Weather Championships final day, which is obviously a brilliant thing to say as I go and put two up for All Weather Championships final day. The first comes in the Easter Classic, and it's going to be Notre Belle Bet for Andrew Balding. Oshie Murphy's booked to ride as well. I just think he's absolutely crying out for a mile and two. He hasn't yet been properly tried over a mile and a quarter. He was tried over a mile and a furlong and third at Newmarket last year, but even when he was third at Wolverhampton over a mile and half a furlong last time out, he was staying on. At Lingfield on his penultimate run, he was staying on when second. He just looks like he gallops like a horse that wants a mile and a quarter, maybe even a tiny bit further. He travels beautifully. He doesn't quite have a turn of foot, but I think he's a good galloper, and he gallops right through the line. Look, there's only 6 runners in the race. He's 6-1 without Forrester Dean. That's probably where I'll be looking at the moment. I don't know if you can get a 6-1 each way without Forrester Dean. That was probably where I'll be looking at the moment. But I think Notre Belle Bet could take a step forward. Interesting stat as well that I just found out after fancying Notre Belle Bet. He's from stall 4. 4 of the last 6 winners of this race have come from stall 4, funnily enough. So that's an interesting stat. Not really a reason to fancy him, but I think Notre Belle Bet could outrun his odds. We had a big price winner last year, and hopefully he'll be able to go well.
Okay, Notre Belle Bet for Jack. Yeah, Oshie Murphy's got a good book of rides on All Weather Championship Finals Day. He's got the 2 Berkshire horses as well, Berkshire Shadow and Berkshire Rocker on the card, who he gave big mentions to on Sky Sports Racing the other day. My first selection comes on Good Friday as well, in the 150, which is the 3-year-old championship stakes. And I like a horse called Perdika for the George Bowie yard. I think he's a cracking each way bet. He's around 6-1. I know it's probably not an each way big price, but it's an each way bet to nothing. He actually ran in the Jumeirah Fillies Guineas that Morge won out in Maidan. I did actually reference that in our classic video. You can go check that out on our YouTube channel at the moment, where Jack and I preview the classics. But officially, she's the best horse in this race. She rated £1 better than the favourite Should Have Been a Ring, who did have some strong form last season. Should Have Been a Ring. But this horse here, Perdika, interesting prep for this race out in Chantilly on the all-weather, where she beat some nice horses. Now, Kevin Stott takes the ride here. He's obviously in the battle with Danny Muscat for the all-weather jockey's title, but Kevin Stott's actually ridden this horse 4 times, 4 of her 10 starts, and he's won all 4 times on this horse. He's been riding extremely well on the all-weather. 6-1, I think, is more than a fair price. So Perdika will come in the 150 at Newcastle on Good Friday. And I'll move on from what Jack said about the Easter Classic, because that's where my second selection comes from, and it's a boring one, but Forest of Dean to win the Easter Classic at 3 o'clock. He's 7-4 best price. He's a course and distance winner already this season, where he finished just over half, a length and a half, I think it was, over Harrovian, who's also in here at around 11-4. The last run was in the Winter Derby behind Lord North. We know what Lord North's gone and done. I don't really want to remember what Lord North went and did, unfortunately, with Dan on Beluga flying home late. But the third Fox's Tails was in that race. That horse has come out and won since at Kempton. Forest of Dean, I just think this horse is just going to be a class above. The Doyler's on board. I think 7-4 is more than a fair price. Jack, where does your second selection come from? Is it on the card at Newcastle as well?
It is, yeah. It's in the final race of the day, 4:45, and I kind of fancy Summergan to run another big race in the sprint there. I know he's a 9-year-old, but he's 7-1, and I mean he's drawn perfectly in 8. I think these high draws will be absolutely perfect at Newcastle. And look, I mean he was 6th in Doha, staying on as he does, and his penultimate run at Lingfield, he was 4th, staying on it as he does. You know he's going to be in the rear of the field. You know he's going to have to try and find a gap. But look, I mean, last year he was better than ever. He won the Air Gold Cup, won a listed race at Lingfield back in November. And look, he's 9 years old, but he's not showing any sign of stopping. And I don't think he was by any means disgraced at Doha. I mean, when you look at him last year at Maidan, he didn't lift a foot, did he? And then came back and had a brilliant season. So hopefully Summergan will be able to go close. He's about 7-1. I think it's a fair enough each way price.
Okay, yes, Summergan, what a legend of the game Summergand is, and who's looking forward to backing him with £1 each way in the Stewards Cup come Goodwood? Me, that'll be. My next selection will come on Saturday, and this will be at Musselburgh. A good card at Musselburgh, the Queen's Cup, the highlight, and that's where my selection comes from in the 3:35 there. Charlie Johnson, Joe Fanning jocks up aboard this horse. It's a horse called Approachability. Was actually last of 10 on his final start of the season, but ran a good... I think it was 5th in a handicap at the Glorious Goodwood meeting, which Secret State won. Now, you've got to remember that handicap ended up to be pretty strong. Maxud was 2nd, Inverness was 3rd, Salcombe was 4th. There were some nice horses in that race. That was actually over 1.5 miles there at Goodwood, and he stayed on that day really well. He shaped like he'd want to step up and trip. He's a 4-year-old, definitely on the up. This is the first time he's going to be running over 1 3/4. He kicks off the season off a mark of 89, which I think is more than fair. He's dropped £3 from his last run. I've got a feeling he's going to run a big race, in a race where the Johnsons tend to run their horses really well. Mark Johnson had a good record in this race. I'm hoping Charlie Johnson will do exactly the same. He's hitting form at a good time, Charlie Johnson, and I'm hoping he'll have a big season. But 16-1 for the Queen's Cup, Approachability at Musselburgh for me. Jack, where does your third selection come from?
Funnily enough, I hate the Queen's Cup. I think it's a horrible race, but my selection is also going to come in the Queen's Cup.
Oh, no.
It's the sole favourite I'm going to put up. I think Spirit Mixer was just really impressive last year. I thought he was just improving and improving. I mean, he won 3 of his first 4, then finished 4th at Chester. Of course, was only beaten by Trushan in the Northumberland Plate, and what a performance that was from Trushan. And then finished staying on the 6th at Newmarket, over 1 mile and 6 on very quick ground that day. I think he's just improving. I remember when Oshie Murphy a couple of years ago said this was the handicapper to watch for, and I still think he's probably a little bit well treated off 100. You know, I mean, he's got a favourites chance, hence why he's only 6-1. But I don't think it's the worst price in the world. He's on the up. I don't think he runs too badly fresh. He's finished 4th on two appearances. I probably think sometimes he may need the run, but hopefully here he won't need the run. He's got Callum Hutchinson on board claiming £3, who usually gets a good tune out of him, and I think Spirit Mixer will go closer, a backable each way price.
Yeah, he may end up being a group horse this season as well. Spirit Mixer, you never know. He could kind of be a listed Group 3 horse. He does have that kind of quality. Jack, I'll come to you. You can go with your next selection now.
So we go over to Fairyhouse now on the Saturday, and it is in the 5:05, a handicap hurdle. We don't exactly know who's going to be going as of yet, but it's going to be the Big Doyen, who I don't know, some of you may remember, was I think it was 4th of 5 in the race that Impero Pass won. But I just think if the ground is going to be testing, he's going to absolutely love it. He has this brilliant high knee action. I mean, he's only off a mark of 125. He was 5th of 5 at Navan last time out behind Hunter's Yarn, beaten 20 lengths, made a mistake at the last. Other than that, jumped foot perfectly. That was on pretty decent ground that day, on good to yielding ground, but I think it was riding a little bit better than that. He was 2nd to Nucky Johnson in November, and he's such a good traveller. I think he's going to get through the ground if it is testing. He's only off a mark of 125. He was 2nd to Dr. Bravo, and he was travelling better than Dr. Bravo on the day. Dr. Bravo is now rated 142, so I think he's definitely got to be well in off 125. If the ground does come up a little bit better, I would also have a look at Hey Johnny, who was of course unseated at Cheltenham, back on good ground. I think he'll prefer better ground, but if it is testing, I think the big Doyen at the 5:05 at Fairyhouse on Saturday could go close.
Okay, the Big Doyen for Jack. Jack heads to the National Hunter Action for his 4th selection, and so do I. The Grade 1 Mares Novice Hurdle at 2:35 on Sunday. And I just have to do this after what I said in our kind of review of the Cheltenham Festival. And it's Magical Zoe here at 3-1. Not a sexy price, I get that, but look, she has to be the one of the most unlucky horses at the Cheltenham Festival. I can tell you now that Heskin would definitely want that ride back on that horse. I still think she was probably the best horse in that race. I mean, she obviously finished second, but I think she was the best horse there. This is over slightly further than the Cheltenham Mares Novices Hurdle. We've got to remember that. I think it's 3 furlongs further, which if anything is only going to suit Magical Zoe down to a T. She was powering up that hill, so I can see her staying on really well in a race like this. She still has plenty to offer. I think that, look, even though the favourite Ashrow Diamond, this horse has form with the likes of Facile Vega and Marine Nationale, who are 1-2 in the Supreme. I just think Magical Zoe could end up to be a really smart horse, improving really fast, and I think 3-1 is more than a fair price. So I'll be with Magical Zoe, who I put up as an eye catcher from the Cheltenham Festival, our Cheltenham review video. And Jack, are we both going to be going to the Irish National for our final selection? Where's yours coming from?
We're not actually. I'm going to the opener at Haydock on Saturday, cool. And it's a 50-1 selection. It's more a weather-dependent selection. I'll probably put up. I've got 2 in the race. One if the ground's better, and one if it does come up testing. Nayati is 50-1 at the moment. It's good to soft ground and Musselburgh. If there's testing conditions there, I think he's going to run an absolutely almighty race. In the race that Love Envoy won at the Sandown, on Love Envoy's seasonal periods, I really fancied him after his win at Bangor on D over 2 mile 3. He then disappointed in that and then won here on really testing conditions in good style for 132. Then came back, didn't really give too much of a good account. And then at Kelso, they were both on good to soft ground. I think the ground was actually too good for him. I think on this disgusting, horrible ground, if rain does come, it doesn't look like it's going to, but if it is going to be testing on the day, I think at Haydock, I think he has a good chance of going quite close there, and he's 50-1. But if the ground's a little bit better, Hon Public was in the same race. I don't think he stays a yard above 2 miles. He's off top weight, but hey, we saw with migration that top weights can do the business. I sometimes think weight can be a little bit of a farce and put me off for the wrong reasons. But on Public's 8-1. So if the ground does get a little bit better, he gets into a rhythm out in front. He doesn't stay a yard above 2 miles, and off 138. He's not necessarily well handicapped, but I think he could go close. So there's 2 there in the opener at Haydock on Saturday.
There we go, a couple there for that race there. I do think, like Jack mentioned there, with the top weights in races like migration, I can't believe they're already thinking, can we see what the handicapper does, and we go for another handicap. That horse just, for me, screams a group horse on heavy ground. I can imagine that horse heading over to France plenty this season, looking for a bit of soft in the ground. So yeah, look, don't be put off with the top weights in handicap. Sometimes you've got to remember they're the best horse in the race. It's just whether they're carrying too much weight, so do remember that. My selection then is going to come on Monday in the Irish National at 5 o'clock, and the Devil's Coachman tops the market here. And look, he's looked really good. He did make a few mistakes last time out, but did finish the race off really well. But I'm going to go with a horse who finished behind Ramillies and the Devil's Coachman in Am I Right for the Henry de Bromhead stable. That day, that was over 3 mile 1 furlongs. Now, I have a feeling this horse will improve markedly for a step up in trip. And those who like watching the YouTube shows, you may actually remember Johnny Deneen put this horse up at 40-1 for the National Hunt Chase in the series. Obviously, the horse didn't run there, but he described him the horse who was just going to improve plenty, and he's such a great jumper and such a great traveller that the step up in trip will suit. And then Johnny said, look, if he doesn't go here, then an Irish National I could imagine suits him, and this is where he ends up. And I think, look, 16-1 could be far too big. He's off a mark of 138. I think he could be much better than that. I think he could be in for a really good season next season as well over these staying trips. So I think Am I Right is going to be the horse for me in the Irish National. It is a very competitive race, as it always is, but 16-1 seems fair enough. Jack, am I right?
I don't think you are right. If you were going to be right, I'd just have a little look at the old Betway Bowl market at the moment, just because Conflated, I think, is being confirmed as well. And Hoy-Senyor's on the drift. So if everyone wants, I think, a little bit of early Christmas presents, let's call it, a Hoy-Senyor, if he goes, he's going to be there or thereabouts. And I'm going to get him into pretty much every video this year. I'm going to try.
Oh, every video. We're going to get the Sprint Cup at Haydock, and Jack will try and get a Hoy-Senyor.
Oh, he'll be there.
Somehow you'll find a way. Good opportunity though. Jack's mentioned there he's a big fan of a Hoy-Senyor for the Aintree Bowl. Good opportunity to plug our Aintree video. That will be coming to you probably Wednesday morning next week, obviously ahead of the 3 days of the Aintree Festival. Really looking forward to that. Jack and I'll probably be looking at just the main group ones and obviously topping things off with the Grand National itself. So looking forward to that. So there are 5 horses for you over the Easter weekend for this video. Jack, if you had to probably give a best, who would it be this week?
Let's go. Hopefully there's rain. I'll say Nayati at Haydock, 50-1.
Okay, fine. I'll go with Perdika in the 3-year-old Championship Stakes at Newcastle the 150 there. And there we go, that's it for this week's video. Like I say, we'll be back next Wednesday with our Grand National preview. As always, do like, subscribe, comment and share this video if you are enjoying them. Put the naps in down below and we'll give you a shout out if you land them next week. But thanks for watching as always, and we will see you very soon.